It's the best time of the year for hockey fans as the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs begin next week. Welcome back to another edition of Penn State Sports Night. I'm Jacob Cheris, and I'm joined by Tim Rogers and Anthony Desher. So, guys, the regular season is almost done. Playoffs begin next week, and it's always a tight race to the finish. So we're going to take a look at both conferences. Tim, I'm going to start with you. Who's the team to watch coming out of the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, first up, I think we're all pumped up to see some playoff hockey because, you know, there's nothing like playoff hockey, right? You know, you got regular season hockey, sure, but when playoff time comes, that's when all chaos ensues. And this wild card race is really tight right now. You know, I think it's a three-way race really right now. I mean, obviously Buffalo's got a lot they have to do, but I'm going to talk about the New York Islanders on this one. They have been one of the best teams in the NHL right now. Now, they obviously are, at the time of us recording this, are currently losing 3-0 to the Washington Capitals, which is making my argument really good right now. Look at that smile on your face. That makes me so happy. But nonetheless, the New York Islanders have been very solid as of late. They, you know, even with their best player, Matt Barzal, going down with injury, they've really stepped it up. And, you know, Bo Horvat maybe hasn't been the most productive in the point schedule, but you're looking at his face-off percentage. He's top 15 in the NHL right now. And that's something that I think a lot of teams don't take lightly. And you know, Pierre Engvall, for, as I like to say, yeah, New York Islanders got him for a bag of Lay's potato chips. You know, they got him for absolutely nothing, and he has done sensational for them. 16 games played, 9 points, and it's great to see him having a nice role because, you know, he's always been really solid for Toronto, but with how heavily stacked that team is, you know, he wasn't getting much minutes. But let's talk about my personal favorite in the Vezina winner, in Ilya Sorokin. This guy is absolutely sensational. He's got a .925 save percentage and a 2.33 goals against average right now. And that's technically fourth in the NHL for both, but that's also, you got to look at guys like Philip Gustafsson that's ahead of him that hasn't even played 30 games yet. So with the minimum of 40 games, he will be second in both of those categories. Huge reason why the New York Islanders are even in this race right now.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the Islanders. I want to talk about the team in the first wild card spot, the Florida Panthers. Coming into Monday, they've won 6 straight games, and the acquisitions they made over the offseason have been phenomenal so far. Matthew Tkachuk, yes, we expected him to be good, but he has 108 points. And Brandon Montour has 72 points as a defenseman. I never thought I would see that in like a bajillion years. And also Carter Verhaeghe's a 40-goal scorer, but he never gets enough credit because it's Carter Verhaeghe. But just what the Panthers have been able to do, especially with their goalies going down to injury and other complications, having Alex Lyon come up and be as dominant as he is these last 5 games, he's given up basically nothing. And just these Panthers, I mean, they're getting led by a Lion. I mean, hot goaltenders, obviously they're great when it comes to the playoff time, but is it sustainable as a third goaltender? Who really knows? I mean, they have the offense right now to make up for it, but like I said, a hot goaltender is important, but a guy who hasn't really gotten that much experience, especially in the playoffs, might be a little iffy.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you guys. The one concern, like you said, I have for the Florida Panthers, it's like you said, the goaltending, and goaltending can steal you games, as you know the Islanders have been known to do a lot. And my big question also for the Islanders is the power play, 31st in the league right now. So with the way that it's trending right now, and you got Pittsburgh with 2 of the easiest games, the last 2 games are so easy for them. Going to be really, really tight. I could see all 3 of those teams making a pretty good run in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So let's move on from the East to the Western Conference now. This conference hasn't always been the most competitive because the East has, you know, been really, really tight. But this year, it's a lot tighter. Anthony, I'm going to start with you. Who's your team to watch out for?
Well, I really like the Winnipeg Jets right now. They have a game in hand over the Calgary Flames, and you already see Seattle clinch. But the Winnipeg Jets, they have a nice little group going for themselves as well, with Kyle Connor, of course, scoring goals, Mark Scheifele turning back the clock, of course, and Josh Morrissey being one of the best defensemen in the entire league right now, and of course, Connor Hellebuck being Connor Hellebuck. I mean, I look at the Flames, 16 overtime losses. Like, that's not what you want to do, and Darryl Suter's been having problems with that all season long, and the Flames, they just don't seem like the team they were when they were winning the entire Western Conference. They just don't have that group right now. They're not clicking. They made that trade. They lost their entire first line with Johnny Gaudreau and, Lindholm's still there, but they lost a lot of guys in that group. But they didn't get their feet under them as well as they thought they would. So I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think the Jets are going to fly into this one. No figure of speech intended there, but I think the Jets are in a really good spot.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the Kachuk trade working out for Florida. Boy, did that not work out for the Calgary Flames at all. I mean, Jonathan Huberdeau, where is he? I think I see John Cena more than seeing Jonathan Huberdeau on this Calgary Flames team. But first, I do want to quickly mention, super impressive by the Seattle Kraken to be here in this position. I think we were a little bit spoiled by the Vegas Golden Knights going to the Stanley Cup final in their first year, but Seattle's doing it right. We've talked about this off air multiple times, how they're doing the rebuild the right way. They're using that young core, and boy, has Matty Beniers paid off absolutely sensationally for them. But
Calder.
I do think the Winnipeg Jets will also get that last wild card spot. Hellebuck has been good. He hasn't been the same of what he is used to for his numbers per se, but he has been a huge reason why that they are still in this race. But does it really matter? Is the big thing. I'm looking at the teams in the East. I think all of them could easily, push the Bostons, push the Hurricanes, push the Devils even if they take over Carolina for that top. I'm looking at Colorado and Vegas. They steamroll Winnipeg in 5.
Yep. No, I agree with you guys both. And also, you can't really count out Nashville. They're playing some good hockey too. You see Saros. You still have Roman Josi, Forsberg. You can't count them out yet. Although I think if they were to lose tonight, then they would be done. But let's go to the ultimate question. Who is going to win the 2023 Stanley Cup?
Now, this is a really tough one. And I know every year is a tough one, but there are so many great NHL teams out there, so many storylines. But I think it's finally time for Raleigh to get going. And I get their Stanley Cup, and I think they will. It's very interesting to watch this team as they're missing their top goal scorer right now, who's struggling to work out his knee a little bit. I was able to bend it quite nicely there, but poor Svechnikov not able to do the same. But you're looking at Sebastian Aho and Marty Necas right now. Both have at least 65 points for them. And Brent Burns, he's come out of nowhere right now, back into his old form. The question I do have for Carolina is, will they be able? Who is going to be their goalie for the playoffs? Ranta and Anderson have split games basically. I mean, I know both of them have dealt with injuries, but and Kochekov has been sensational stepping in for them. But I just think that they play the right way. They play playoff hockey. I think it's finally time for them to get it done. I still think the President's Trophy curse exists, and that's why I don't see Boston there.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the year.
Oh boy,
Connor McDavid will finally be lifting Lord Stanley over his head. 150 points on this season. That is insane. And then you pair him with guys like Leon Draisaitl, who's got over 50 goals. Zach Hyman's
That's pretty good.
Yeah, Zach Hyman's having a career year with himself. He's got 30 goals. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, after always kind of being like, yeah, he's a good number 1 pick, but it's not like a number one pick. And he's been blowing the doors off this season as well. He's got over 100 points as well. And they finally have goaltending in Stuart Skinner, who is, I don't think he's going to win the Calder, but, he's still in those conversations because, he's been that good. An amazing mustache as well. I wish I could grow one just as well as he can.
Don't we all? It's just perfect.
I know. But just the only problem is always going to be the depth scoring because they have that ability to roll those top 2 lines, but there's really nothing in the bottom 6. But there is a guy, and I can't guarantee he gets signed. Skylar Brindamore just won the national championship with the Quinnipiac Bobcats, and he's Edmonton Oiler property. And if they want a guy who's got that playoff experience, because he just came off a national championship, that can plug him in, help kind of lead that core, those younger groups of guys like Holloway and everyone like that, they can get some experience and they can actually make a deep run because they just fell last year to the Colorado Avalanche, who won the whole thing. So you really can't blame them there. But McDavid in a regular season, he's great. McDavid in the playoffs, he's even better.
Yeah, no, both those teams. I'm going to disagree with you on Carolina a bit because, like you said, Svechnikov, you need your star players in the playoffs, and you do. You need them healthy. You need them performing at an elite level in order to go far. The Oilers have 2 guys that are putting up historic numbers, and they put up historic numbers in the playoffs.
You just wanted to disagree with me. That's what it was.
Sure, we'll go with that. This definitely should be an exciting playoff year, and we will just have to wait and see if either of these teams can go all the way and hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. That's going to do it for this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Anthony Desher and Tim Rogers, I'm Jacob Cheris, and enjoy the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you are going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.